Hey, and welcome to this episode of our webinar, The Agent is In. We have some people on the screen here from Northern Tech and the CFEngine team, and we're going to take a look at the 3.20 release, and specifically the new things that are coming. So yeah, feel free to ask questions in the chat or interrupt me with a microphone, and I will just kind of start the demo. So here is Mission Portal, and half a year ago we released CFEngine Build. So that's a website where you can find modules, and they can be reports or different inventory information or promise types. Various things that you can include in your policy set, and it has some tooling to interact with this website and to build that policy set for you. And so what we're going to look at today is CFEngine Build in Mission Portal, which takes that same functionality and brings it into the enterprise user interface, so you can do most of the things from here. So I'm just going to go over to this new build app, and let's hope that the clouds cooperate today. So right here it says we can enter Git repository information to set up a repository for our project. You can click setup later if you just want to kind of look around and test the UI, but the functionality is better with a Git repo, so I am going to set that up. So let's go to GitHub, and I will create a new repo. So very simple. I'm just going to call this build project and mark it as private. And I'm also going to just add a README file, because then we will have a branch called main, and we will have a first commit. So it's like a normal Git repo. So click that. Here's our project. It's empty except for this markdown file. And we have a URL here. So I'm going to copy that and go back to Mission Portal and paste that in. The branch was called main. Then we need some way to authenticate with the repo, and this is especially necessary for when we make changes to this project, so we want to write back to it. So for this, I'm going to generate a key pair, an SSH key pair. And we get the public key here, so the private key is not shown, but the public key we can copy. And I will go back over to GitHub and set that up. So here under deploy keys, we can add a deploy key. Just going to paste that in there, allow write, and say CFEngine build in MP. Okay, I'll go back here to the project page and here to Mission Portal again. So I'll close this down. This looks okay. I've set the branch and the project, and this name is automatic. So I'll click save. And it says welcome. So here is our new project. It currently contains master files. That's the default policy. And we have a quick start guide here, which kind of tells us the steps we should do to get started. So we have master files, and then it's telling us to add another module. So I'm going to use this one, inventory sudoers. So here's the description, similar to what you see in the build website. So this is a module that checks which users have access to use sudo. And it shows there in the screenshot. It's a list that will show up in the inventory reports. So let's add this one. And we can go back to the home page here. And we can add more modules, but just to see the very basic case of how it works, I'm going to go to the next step. So deploy the policy set. That's here. Deploy. And now it's saying that we haven't configured version control settings. So this hub is not pulling policy from that Git repo yet, which is what I want. So I'm going to click this, push and deploy to this hub. So that changes the settings. And it says it's pushed and deployed. So now, if we go over to the Git repo, refresh here, we should see that there are new commits. And there's 3 commits. So first one is initialized a new project. We see the configuration file. And then second one is added the first module, the default policy. And then the second module that we added, inventory doers. So let's move on to build here. So now we've done the basic quick start, and we can look at the results of that, but let's maybe look for some more modules to add as well. For example, this one might be useful, telnet server not installed. So let's add this one. And we can add compliance. I will maybe follow your suggestion a bit later, Nick. So we'll add this one. OS is vendor supported. We can also add some modules that interact with policy. So the Git promise type, perhaps. So we can show this off later. All right. So now we've made some changes. And
so where did the auto run come from? I didn't remember you clicking on auto run.
Right. So that was one of the modules we added had a dependency.
Okay.
So if I'm not mistaken, it was this one.
Okay.
So telnet server not installed. That's something written in policy. And I think if we look at this policy, we should be able to see, it's using auto run.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, good question. So some of these modules, they rely on auto run, and same happened here for promise type Git. So this is written in Python, and it's a promise type module, and its dependency is this library that we made for promise types in Python. So that was also added. Okay, so now that we have all of these modules, we have this project, we can click deploy. So that's going to do the same as before. Now the settings are already correct, so it doesn't prompt us for this, but it pushes to that Git repo that matches where we will pull policy from. And the end result is that it's deployed on this hub and any other hubs that are using the same Git repo. So
is this triggering some other stuff in the background when it does the push?
Yeah, it's after pushing, it's also triggering an agent run to update things and so that it's up to date. Otherwise, you'd have to wait until the next one. Yeah, so here now we see the new commits. Maybe I need to refresh. Oh, we didn't add that many. It's just these 4 ones.
I think when you add telnet server, like if we click, can you click on and then I think we'll see both auto run. Yeah.
Right, and exactly. Dependency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here you see that both were added. And you can also see exactly where the file will end up here. Services auto run telnet server policy. And yeah, like we discussed, it's the same here. So this is interacting with this Git repo like a normal Git repo, let's say, like a normal, like you would use it with command line tooling as well. So we can do that. Yeah, let's clone this repo and try it. So I'm gonna open a terminal here and just do git clone. And cd into it. So here, if you have used the tooling before, you'll be familiar with what you can do here. But basically, I will open an editor. We can write some very short policy. So my example. Just something very simple, but I will also use auto run. So tags, since I know that we've already added that, that should work well. And then we can also use the git promise type that we added. So let's do tmp cf remote. We can clone that repo perhaps. So let's do repository. github.com/CFEngine/CF remote. And then version is master. Okay, so that's that. And maybe we only want this to run on our hub. So let's do policy server. So now it will only be cloned on that machine. That is the policy server. Okay, so this is kind of how I would work with this from an editor and the command line. So now I'm going to do git add example, my example.cf, and then cfps add my example. It says commit message, and then it's here. Cool, so should be able to push this as well. Hopefully I've done everything correctly. That looks good. And yeah, this policy, you don't have to do that to get the other things working, but now we've kind of explored everything. We can go back to mission portal here. Refresh. And now we see that this custom policy that we added, so this is like a business symbol. It's not part of the modules from the build website, but it's here as part of our project. Yeah, now maybe we can look around and see the things that we added. So we've done quite a few different things. One was the sudoers. So let's see here. User defined, users with sudo. So those show up. So that was the first module we added. And then we can go to reports again. We can look for the compliance report. So this OS is vendor supported report that was added as well. So we click this one and we see that in this case, I have one machine that is not running a supported operating system. I can click here. And that gives me the report that says that, you know, this Ubuntu 16 machine, that should be upgraded. Now we could take a look at a bit how this works on the file level. Feel free to interrupt me with questions, but here's the policy that we ended up creating. So inventory doers is now a folder here in services, and this is that module's code in policy. It looks like we have the telnet modules code here. So that should be uninstalling telnet wherever that's installed. And we have the compliance report being imported by this importer module.
Can you like check off repair or something at the top?
Sure.
There we go.
So here we see the things that were done. We see that this promise right here is to run a command, and if we go through the file, there is a files promise here to render this command. But yeah, the basic idea is that this runs some script to get this compliance report from the JSON file and into our reports in Mission Portal. It looks like we still haven't received the policy file we wrote. That might just be that we have to wait a bit, but
you refresh that, yeah.
Services auto run.
It's not there yet. If you go navigate to the hub maybe and just hit play. That view of the policy is a copy of it.
Yeah, so should be updated. I think when I made the policy and I pushed that to the Git repo, I haven't clicked anything in Mission Portal since that, so I haven't manually triggered any agent runs after that. This is the policy server. We can trigger here. Okay, that should be updated. I'll go back to Policy Analyzer. And there it is. So we can probably click repair now as well. Or it's already run. It's already been run. Policy server. Only the meta. Okay, so it hasn't probably been run on the policy server yet. Yeah, so this is only going to run on the policy server. We can try to look for it. So if we log in here, log into this machine. So it is cloned already. Might be that if I refresh now, it's going to show up. I think probably there's no output, right? Look, no var.
Unless there's
CFEngine.
an error, there shouldn't be output.
Yeah.
Previous.
It's not there. This was the only suggestion. So yeah, there's no output because there are no errors, but I guess if we will open this again.
It might be kept now too. It's already run. So I think it just hasn't reported since doing it.
Okay. Anyway, the file is there, and we can also run it manually. So if we rmrf cf remote, and then do var CFEngine bin CFEngine -ki, you should be able to see that it's doing some things related to the sudo module, and then it's cloning this repo to CF remote. So it is happening. Might not just have the reporting data. Okay, let's go back to CFEngine build though. Any questions here or things you'd like to see?
What happens if you come, or I don't know if we're waiting to see anything else from your example there, but what happens if you go through and like delete some stuff? Like, yeah, well.
You want to delete this one?
It didn't depend on anything. I was kind of curious about deleting something that depended on something else.
So you want to test the limits of this?
I do. I mean, it is a pre-release. Let's find those bugs.
Okay. So I'm going to remove this module that had the dependency on autorun. And autorun is still there because there are other modules that also depended on autorun. If we really want to break something, then we could remove this git promise type, so that will break our policy. But that should also remove this library.
So because the module didn't depend on the git.
So now both of those removed, because that library only had like one dependent. So now that the promise type is gone, also the library is gone.
Right. So when you add that myexample.cf, it might be nice. It might be nice to have like a depends on when you do the CFBS add command, possibly something like that.
And I think that's what it's doing already. We can check this, but if we go to cfbs.json, so here it says that the dependency is autorun.
Right.
But you'd need to add a dependency of promise type git.
Yeah, exactly. So
manually, because
to properly encapsulate this, we should this should be a dependent on this.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, we can try to deploy this. This should cause errors now.
Yeah.
But that's fun to see as well.
It's better to see errors when things go wrong than just to have it look okay.
All right. Again, this is doing the push and the agent run. And
so policy analyzer.
Yeah.
I'm
not sure if they're going to show up immediately.
Right.
But
it might be more interesting in the logs and var CFEngine outputs.
So now what we are really looking for is that whenever this policy gets run next, this promise type will not exist. So the promise here should be causing an error not kept. Let's see if maybe we can.
Oh, it's repaired.
Yeah. So here we can see that the last time it was run, it was repaired. So here promise type git on this machine. That's the hub promiser CF remote. There's no log message because nothing happened as far as I know, but can click here to go to the hub.
Yeah, I mean, most CFEngine stuff isn't going to produce any logs if there's no error. but I would expect to see an error in those log messages like after the next time.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
like
now.
already.
Yeah. So we can go back there. Now inside services, auto run my example.cf. There's an error. It says undefined promise type git.
Yeah, that's
So
really helpful.
now,
And that's
good.
kind of
Go-
cool because this doesn't have to be like only on the policy server. So in another scenario, this could be something that was only failing on one machine. What were you gonna say, Nick?
so like if you go back to your Git repo and then add promise type Git as a dependency on your custom module, it should fix it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe you
we'll have to
remove add.
We can, so first I'll just update the project that I have here. Do you want to do this in the terminal or in the UI?
Let's do it in the UI. I don't know how you edit it though.
Yeah, Nick, I think you'd have to, my example would have to be its own module that had the metadata in order to pull in the dependencies, right?
I think there's a way.
Yeah, so we can just do the necessary step, I guess. So ultimately, what we need is just to get the promise type git back.
Yeah.
So let's do that. And actually, another thing that we could do, so now it should work. Let's deploy it. And let's fetch it here. So another thing that we could see here is if we remove this class guard. So if we try doing this on all of the platforms that I have running, it might be that I have some platforms that don't really have the correct Python for this. Removed class guard for policy server.
CSS.
It's just git commit. So now, again, we should be able to see that this kind of updates. Let's go here. So now we have added these, and yeah, these two errors are probably the missing promise type git, but in a bit we should start to see some different errors on other machines. So now that's that. Again, it needs to update. Any more questions on the build application here? Hopefully this illustrates that you can kind of work with it both from the terminal and the text editor and from the UI.
So what happens when you click on like a module, you kind of see its information and you get the possibility for removing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you get the remove button here. You get the same description that we have on the build CFEngine website.
What happens if you click on your My Example? What does that show?
It doesn't show anything yet.
Okay, yeah, right.
So this is not in the index, so we don't really have any information about it. So we're probably just going to add the placeholder here. In the case of a policy file, we could just show the policy file. But this depends a bit because you can have custom modules that are folders or that are from a URL, like a custom index or something. And then we can't really show much information about what that is.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Oh, I know another module we could add. You know what's my favorite module, Nick?
Every minute.
This module.
Make things go faster.
Exactly.
Maybe we should rename it Fast and Furious.
My favorite module is upgrade everything, update everything. I don't remember if
all packages upgraded.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Oh wait, I wrote it.
Linus is my favorite.
Yes, Linus is Nick's favorite. That's true.
Yeah. Here are some cool CVE modules for addressing security vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are nice.
There's one for a vulnerability in sudo, which basically tries to upgrade sudo if that's possible. So we can add that one as well.
About the log for J1, I guess there's probably no Java on anything to find anything. So
I don't expect that these will find anything on this brand new AWS machine.
Yeah.
But search seems to be working well. That's a beautiful logo.
That's amazing. It's I'm glad that they're focusing on the CVE and their mitigation, not their art.
Yeah, maybe we'll deploy this. We added some modules. So maybe an open question would be, what kind of functionality would you like to see added here? I know both of you have some ideas.
Who?
Both Nick and Craig.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be kind of neat to be able to, edit some policy from here.
Yeah, I'm interested in making like multiple projects for different environments, like for dev, test, canaries, production. I think that'd be cool. That's a kind of a future thing.
Yeah,
I am interested in definitely, multiple projects, and then how to transition the changes between projects, and then like having clients subscribe to a particular project so that you can have maybe more than one project served from a single hub easily.
Yep. That's definitely cool. Yeah, so we have been working on this, and it is coming, but multiple projects, definitely being able to kind of deploy one project to your hub, but then also push to different Git repos and assign different hosts to different projects. You can roll out your changes and manage your different environments how you want.
Can we try to break something again?
What breaks something?
Well, I want to see what happens when we go flip one of the modules to an older version and like, can we update it? Like,
Okay,
I don't know.
so how about this? What if we look here on the website where we can see the version numbers? And I know you really like this Linus module.
I do.
So it has multiple versions, right?
Yeah.
So we can try to select this version and let's try to add that. Okay, so in our build application, we've deployed all of our changes. So I'm going to do this from the terminal. So here, fetch, and then rebase, and then just copy paste the command. So it says it added the module, the commit message, that's the default, and that's fine. And that's there. So now we have this module with a, let's say, an outdated version. So I'm going to push this. Did it push? Yeah. Share. Oh, now we start to see the errors from everything we introduced. Okay. So Linus module.
Update
says
available.
Update available. So we can update this. Updated line is from 020 to 021.
You can customize that?
Yeah, but it's too late now.
Rewrite the history.
Okay, so now we've upgraded Linus. Let's try to deploy that as well.
File not found.
So yeah, here you can see Python 3 is not available on this machine. So
This is
let's
the
go
old
there.
Ubuntu machine.
We can see what it is. So it failed with this log message after we set it to run on all the machines. And this is a CentOS 7.
Yeah, CentOS 7, yeah.
So probably we need to install Python there.
Yeah, yeah. It's Python 2 by default.
Yeah. And I think let's go here to the commit history. So here we can see exactly everything we've done. And the latest thing was that we added this module, Linus, at this specific commit or version. And then from Mission Portal, we upgraded it, which just updates the version number and the commit shell.
Cool.
So yeah, we can go ahead and fix these issues, but that's kind of besides the point of this demo. So I think we can close off with any questions at the end.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, that's
oh yeah, if
exciting.
Go ahead, Nick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like we can show a bit of sneak peek. So this is obviously a very much work in progress. It's just now able to be used, and it will be on 320. But for example, here is some of what's coming next. So we are working on this where you can create modules that take inputs and can do more fancy things. So for example, here's a mock-up of a module that creates files, and you can see you can input what you want it to create and save that, and then you can make arbitrary changes.
These parameters are parameterizing like changes in the policy set itself, right? So if you were to, for example, change one of those parameters, you would deploy a new version of policy. Is that right?
There is, yeah, so we will be working on integrating this with the CMDB as well. So essentially, yes, you will be able to choose in the end. You will be able to make changes that are only in your database, in your host specific data, and only apply to one host, or you will be able to put it into the project so that it applies to all of the hubs that are running that policy set.
Very cool.
So that depends a bit on exactly what you want to achieve, just like policy, but some things you might want to happen on all of your infrastructure across all of your environments, all of the hubs running the same project, the same policy set, whereas other things you will put in the database in CMDB, and they will only apply to one hub or only some hosts on that hub.
And then so you've got a significant difference in delegation, right? Who can change things, right? If you could have ACLs that only allow certain people to change host specific data that's in the database, and then, you know, more privileged access to allow you to actually change the policy set or tweak the inputs into the policy. That's really great.
Exactly. So if the policy set and the project is shared among many different hubs, obviously having write access to this policy set is quite powerful. Whereas write access to one of the databases is limited to only that database, that hub.
I see a drop down under project up there too.
Yeah, multiple projects.
When can I have it?
TBD.
Okay.
All right.
Very cool.
I think we can end it here. We are over time, barely.
Awesome. Thanks, Herman. Really digging the demo.